he's celebrating. Listen to Joe Buck and Troy Aikman.
Know why a guy like Brady, who at 45 in his 23rd year won't retire? It's games like this.
No question. No question. You don't get that in this broadcast booth.
Troy's like, hey, bro, if you could keep playing like this, I would keep playing like this.
Well, the other thing Tom would say, well, you guys don't get $325 million to call games either. You know?
Yeah. Well,
yeah. Beside the last two drives, which the last drive was incredible. Like that was peak Tom Brady right down the field, Mastro in complete control, milking the clock. I mean, it was under 25 seconds. He wasn't even sweating. Dennis Allen's ass was puckering up right next to it. He had to call timeout. And he threw 2 game-winning touchdowns, right? Because the holding delays the one to Godwin. There was a sweet pass, which was actually more impressive than the actual pass that won the game, right? Put that thing right in there over the defender. It was I audibly screamed when he made that pass. But he did look pretty pedestrian a lot of the game, and people are like, what was it? O-line. Yeah, I watch a guy, and no one wants to get hit. He was like, I am at my age, I'm not taking hits. So, like, when he feels pressure, he goes down. He made throws for the first time that I'm like, this is one of the first games that I've watched kind of start to finish where I went, he had showed some pedestrian signs of just.
But he's shown them for years, hasn't he?
Yeah, but this was. Now, the Saints have matched up well against them over the years, and really Dennis has been the defensive coordinator that whole time. So you could argue that's a matchup. They've got him. Fuck, we just saw him against the Niners. They were peppering Jimmy. Like, clearly that defense is playing pretty well. But my take, like 85% way through the game was like, I think he's just over football.
Yeah. Well, I didn't watch the clip. I don't know if you saw. Did you see Colin's take was like, he's not over football. He's over the Bucs. I saw that on Twitter today, which I've always thought it was weird that Tom Brady went to the Bucs, but he won a championship. But I do believe now Tom is already 45. He said he wanted to play till he's 45. I just think when you hear Troy Aikman's voice there, if you're Tom, you know, if you think you still got it, why walk away now? What do you walk? If you think you still got it, Fox, if you tell Fox, like, no, run Greg Olsen back next year, I'll come the next year. What are they going to say? So I do think Tom would want to be a Niner. I do think he would. Now, whether they want him, whatever, we can have that conversation another time. But this guy's coming back to the Bay Area now on Saturday or Sunday in a huge game. Tommy Senior will be there, and I'm
not as confident on that
he'd want to be a Niner.
Yeah, I'm just not as confident because people that know him, he's got a son that lives in New York, so being on the East Coast is important to him. I don't know. I am not confident. I'm not confident that he doesn't, but I don't think it's just. You'd have to get. That's a sappy at 46 years old with his parents, coming down the home stretch. Obviously, his mom has been sick. He'd moved to San Jose, be a quarterback for Kyle. Like that's a pretty ultimately up. Like a lot of people have moved from the Northeast down to Florida. It's a relatively easy move for the elites, right? I mean, a lot of rich people do it back and forth. The California would be a pretty massive move for the guy's life, I would say. And not just California, Northern California. He spent some time in LA with Giselle. They had a huge house. I do think it's a pretty big commitment for him. It's a pretty big change.
I think that's fair. I'm not. Don't.
The offense too it's a little different than what he's done moving around. It's just.
I just think if he wants to keep playing, they would be on a short list.
I believed it strongly years ago, and it was clear. We've been proven right. The Niners just were kind of out because they shorted his age.
Yeah,
which a lot of people around the league were doing, and they were wrong. Like if they could do that over again, obviously they just would have signed him. But you could argue, I mean, he's 40. He's going to be 46, guy, and he can't move in an offense that is ultimately the 49ers' strength is kind of Kyle's offense, offensively, right? It's his play calling in this offensive structure. He would have to dramatically change the offense, which is a positive. He should always be growing, but Tom does limit, which is crazy to say. I know I'm talking about Tom Brady, who just could have won the MVP last year. We're now like 4 years removed from when they could have had him. And he was 43 or 42, right, at that time, which I think was understandable when they told Wes, like, yeah, we're not into him, which was wrong. But I think, is it a more acceptable answer, or are you just not allowed to answer it because you were wrong in the last time? If he goes, guys, I want in. I'm kind of torn on it, I guess.
Yeah, and part of it still depends on, like, what do you really internally think of Trey? What is Trey's health? But, you on Sunday asked the question, have any two quarterbacks on the same team ever broken their ankles in the same year? And why is this happening? And, I had some theories about calcium intake and do they have the right milk and that kind of thing. But I was thinking about it watching Brady last night. And so I looked it up. Who gets rid of the ball the fastest in the NFL? And who do you think the answer is? Tom Brady, 2.29 seconds by like a wide margin. Second place is Trevor Lawrence, 2.48. The gap between first and second, and then everybody else is counted together. And both quarterbacks for the Niners got hurt running. I don't think either quarterback is a comfortable runner, right? Trey clearly has run a lot, but I don't think Trey is a comfortable runner, as we've talked about a lot. And I thought that his first year that he was uncomfortable as a runner. Jimmy is not uncomfortable necessarily, but it's not his thing. That's not what he's there to do. One way to avoid breaking your ankle while running is to never run. And Tom doesn't run. Tom doesn't run QB power, and Tom certainly doesn't do what Jimmy tried to do, outrun two dudes.
Not only outrun guy, stiff arm to separate himself from multiple pass rushers. They weren't like, he's bringing the safety on a blitz. Jimmy's bigger than him. No, it's fucking Bradley Chubb and Phillips, who went, both those guys are first-round pass rushers. Engulfing him.
Yeah.
Because I saw Grant Cohn had a take on Twitter. I agree with him. Like, it's not Jimmy's fault that he broke his, like, obviously Jimmy didn't want, but he did put himself in a position when a guy's coming right at him, then instead of taking off when you can't outrun him, if you just hit the ground, he just touches you right and you're down.
That's what Peyton Manning would have said. I agree with that take. That's why I said now maybe it would have been grounding and you're in field goal range, and I saw somebody say he's trying to get back into field goal range. If you just decide I'm never taking it.
It was the first drive of the game.
It was the first drive of the game, but they're already down 7-0.
True.
And
he tried to run away / stiff arm into another guy. I mean,
I respect it, but he's thrown the ball away 4 times, John. He has thrown the ball away 4 times this year. It's the same number as Jameis. That's 4. It's 4. I think that's one more than who's the Bailey Zappi. Bailey Zappi has 3 throwaways. Jimmy's got 4. He doesn't throw the ball away ever, which means he takes hits.
Hashtag playmaker, bro.
And you know what happened the week before against the Saints? He took a bunch of hits. He takes hits. So when you ask why do the next quarterbacks get hurt, they take hits. We could start with that.
Well, think about some of Jimmy's major injuries. The ACL. Didn't he lower his shoulder on contact against Kansas City on the sideline? Yeah. This injury was somewhat self-inflicted. Not all of his fault with McGlinchey getting smoked and no one blocking the guy. But once they're coming at you, it's incumbent on you to hit the ground. His injury last year, slammed into the ground. I wouldn't totally put that on him. Ankle injury. A lot of it has been running away, trying to keep plays alive when you're just not Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen.
Well, how did Tom get hurt? Just standing in the pocket trying to make.
They literally changed the rule. You're not allowed to hit the guy low like that anymore.